Seems like no. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Inger. Big round of applause one more time. Next up, we have Vanishree Rao, and she'll be presenting on the next frontier of cryptography, witness encryption. Please give a round of applause for Vanishree.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Vanishree Rao, and a little bit of quick introduction is I am the founder of Fermah. Fermah is a universal proof generation layer that is designed to generate proofs for any proof system in a cheap, performant, and reliable manner. And it functions as a marketplace where the supply side consists of any kinds of machines, GPUs, FPGAs, VPUs, etc. And for the demand, we can generate proofs for any situation where ZK is used. So that's what we are building. If you are a ZK project, there is a huge possibility that we can add value. Please reach out or head over to fermah.xyz, and there is a form there that you can fill. And let's see. And a little bit of background about myself is prior to founding Fermah, I have been working on ZK and cryptography in general for over 15 years on projects such as Mina, and my PhD was in cryptography at UCLA. That's a little bit about me. And now on to our topic at hand, right? Witness encryption. Let's begin by understanding why we should care about witness encryption. And the amazing thing about our industry is that we have a tendency to take these diamonds in the rough and polish the heck out of them, right? One example is ZK. When our industry started working on ZK, it was not practical in general, right? Look where we have gotten it, and look where we are taking it, right? And we are starting to do the same thing with fully homomorphic encryption. A natural question is, what's next? Or what makes a cryptographic primitive, a cryptographic tool, a great candidate for our industry to embrace like this? And my thinking is that it comes down to these three things. One is that it has to be extremely powerfully useful if efficient. And it is currently not efficient. And then the third thing is that the value offering of this tool has to align with the crypto ethos, right? One candidate for one candidate that satisfies all these things, I think, is witness encryption. So as we will talk now, as we will discuss further, one thing you will realize is that witness encryption is actually really powerful in that it'll help us achieve truly trustless systems in a way that we were not able to do earlier. And this is why it is so corely aligned with what we believe in our space. This is the agenda for the rest of the talk. So we'll first see what witness encryption really is. Then we'll talk about a few applications. And then we will infer this thing that I just mentioned, that from these applications, from understanding what witness encryption is, infer that witness encryption is a great tool for us to build truly trustless systems. And finally, we'll look at the current state of the art of witness encryption and try to predict the trajectory, the future trajectory of witness encryption. So, okay, and this talk will be short. So later, I'm hoping to keep this as intuitive as possible, and hoping to have enough time at the end where we can have a discussion. So what is witness encryption? I just wrote a takeaway there, but before that, let's try to understand witness encryption from something that is more popular, public key encryption. Let's begin with the notion of encryption. Witness encryption, of course, is a form of encryption. That is very clear. So it helps us hide message so that only qualified people can open it. That is clear, right? What is public key encryption? Public key encryption is a method where we encrypt a message to a public key so that only people who have access to the corresponding private key can open and read that message, right? That is public key encryption, right? So what is witness encryption? In witness encryption, instead of encrypting to a public key, to somebody's public key, we are encrypting to a puzzle, right? You encrypt to a puzzle. And whoever knows the solution to that puzzle can open up and read the messages, right? That is witness encryption. And to formalize the notion of puzzle, in formalism, we say that you encrypt to a statement, and whoever has the witness to that statement can decrypt the ciphertexts, right? And here, just like in ZK also you prove a statement where the prover has access to the witness, and the verifier can verify with just the proof and the statement. So it's all, everything is all, we start with, it's a similar notion. It's a similar notion of puzzles where there are statements and witnesses, right? So this is what witness encryption is. Feel free to stop me in the middle. Just raise your hands, and I'm happy to chat in the middle because we have plenty time. Okay, so here is an example application of witness encryption, right? I find this really cool because so try to think about how we could have achieved this in the absence of witness encryption as we describe this, right? You'll realize that it is really hard to achieve something like this in the absence of witness encryption, which tells us the power of witness encryption. So the example goes like this. Let's say you want to send your keys to your NFTs to your great-grandchildren who are not born yet. What would you do? If you keep a network of TEs and secret share your key, there is some trust. The trust that people won't break TEs. Even if they break TEs, people don't collude and get your secret. Imagine this is worth $1 billion and it takes $2 million to break a TE. Of course, they'll put $2 million to break it and collude and get your secret key. So there is some trust, right? Can we build a truly trustless system? And the way we can build it is through witness encryption. And here is what you would do, right? You would encrypt your secret key to the statement that I am the great-grandchild of Alice. And the witness is some proof that you're a great-grandchild of Alice, and if you have that proof, you can open it and get the secret. Otherwise, you cannot open it. You can leave this ciphertext out in the open, and without the proof, nobody can open it. So there is no trust you're placing on some system. It's a truly trustless system. You don't even, it is very hard to, I don't know of any other way to store a secret in a smart contract, for example. If you want some access control to be done on a smart contract, it's really, really hard. This is the way to do it. Here, this is one example. A similar example, while we stay on this slide, is let's say you're a whistleblower, right? And you want to get to the chief detective of an intelligence agency, get the information to that person. You don't know who that person is. You don't know how that intelligence agency operates. You don't want it to get to another person in that intelligence agency. So you can encrypt. Here's the thing. You don't need to know the identity of the recipient when you're encrypting. This is the cool part about witness encryption. You don't need to know who that person is. You only need to know some qualifying information that that person has that others don't have, and you encrypt to that. That's another kind of an example. Okay, and I have one more example. There are a lot more examples one can think about, but here is somewhat of a different example. So we, in our industry, started building private protocols like Zcash, and there was a pushback from the powers that exist, and our industry softened our stance and started building. I think it's the right thing to do. Started building compliant privacy protocols. Labyrinth is one example. I think it's a very cool project. Labyrinth is building compliant privacy, right? With witness encryption, you can further soften and make it more amenable for the powers that exist by building compliant privacy with auditability, right? When you think about compliant privacy protocols, something that is private, right? That powers, the powers that exist, they don't like it. They want to be able to get into things when they need to. Even if somebody is complying within the protocol, they may do things off-chain because of which people need to get into the secret information, and compliant privacy protocols don't allow that. But witness encryption can help you get there too by encrypting the private parts using witness encryption to the statement that you have a court order to open up to decrypt, right? Thereby you can build compliant privacy with auditability. Here, this is just another example. Okay, so these are a couple of examples, and what we learn from examples like this is that a realization, a reinforcement of our ethos. We are not here to build decentralized systems versus centralized systems. This is a higher. This is not the first order core goal of our industry. The first order core goal is building truly trustless systems. And in the absence of tools like witness encryption, we resort to mechanisms like decentralized systems, where there is some level of trust. You can remove that level of trust with something like witness encryption, and witness encryption clearly helps us build truly trustless systems. And this, I think, is my last slide. Where are we and where we are headed? I want to compare this trajectory with the trajectory of ZK. Very, very likely it is going to take the trajectory of ZK. So let's first, at a very high level, look at the trajectory of ZK. ZK, of course, started even before crypto existed. There was this long, active line of research in the academia before we started working on it, and we started building these generic systems that were inefficient, right? These interactive protocols that were inefficient, and then we started building specific efficient protocols. for specific computations that you wanted to prove. And then blockchain started noticing ZK, and through projects like Zcash, we built specific kind of efficient, almost efficient ZK. And then we realized that, okay, there is more attention. We need to help people build these specific efficient ZK. And tooling came like Circom, Noir, and then we realized the pains of building even through Noir and all these cool tools, because people still had to learn these tools to build with these tools, and there came ZKVMs, tooling for generic. And that has catapulted the adoption of ZK, and we are we are on the way to have a huge amount of adoption through that, with a few things here and there that are still that still need to be done for absolute mass adoption. And I also wrote another item at the very end. Will we switch to something specific? So we went from generic to specific and specific to generic. Will we go to specific? There's a tweet debate. There's a debate on X recently. I am of this thesis that for projects that become so mature to a level that they don't have to worry about the bootstrap constraints of a project, the time to market, the cost of engineering, where the engineering team is building specific circuits, when those constraints go away, then I think it makes sense for those projects to reconsider the ZK stack. And there might be room, space for specific. Anyway, that's just a side note. That's in general the trajectory of ZK, right? And for witness encryption, we started off in academia, of course, and we had the first feasibility results, I think about a little over 10 years ago. I think just about 10 years ago, 2013. And now we have realized that it is really, really hard to build witness encryptions that are generic, especially the starting points, the enabling points, the ingredients to build witness encryptions themselves were really, really hard to manage, like indistinguishability, obfuscation. And we didn't want to take that route we didn't want to take that route to achieve what we could achieve with witness encryptions. So people started looking at witness encryption for specific languages, for specific set of statements, right? The two that I've listed here are witness encryption for signatures. If you have signatures to certain things, then you can decrypt, right? Or or for functional commitments, if you have openings to functional commitments, then you can open or decrypt those ciphertexts. This is where we are, it seems. And if you are to see where witness encryption is, the trajectory that witness encryption will take, it is very likely the trajectory that ZK has had, and because it's such a natural trajectory, there isn't anything that is unreasonable happening or has happened in the trajectory of ZK. And similarly, and it's a very similar primitive in the sense that it's not like encryption in general, right? In encryption, there is no computation. There is just a message you encrypt, and there are different forms of they're like RSA, El-Gamal, etc. But here there's computation. There are things that are dependent on the encryption time is dependent on the size of the computation, etc. Right? So it's very similar in that sense, and it's very likely that the switch from generic to specific is going to happen in the way that ZK has had. That's a thesis I think needs to be seen, but I think it's a primitive to take a bet on. It's a primitive, it's a tool that has huge power, especially given the fact that it aligns so well with what we want in the crypto space. So that is my bet, and I think this is all I had to say. And here is, this isn't something that we are building, but this is something that is very interesting, and likely the world will focus on this primitive, but what we are focused on is making every computation be done on the ZK as a substrate, and that is Fermah. Again, call to action, request for call to action is please reach out if you're building anything in ZK. And like I said, we are a universal proof generation layer where the specific headache we take away is that you don't have to worry about putting together your own infrastructure. You don't have to worry about the way you incentivize these provers, etc. We give clean SLA guarantees on proof generation time and proof generation cost, and that's us. We are a universal proof generation layer for any proof system. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanishree. I think we still have about 10 minutes, so let's take any questions. Ariel, go ahead. Can someone pass him a mic, please?
Yeah. Do you have ideas of what that would look like, that secret that your grandchild has that nobody else has?
I think it's a systems question. Maybe Web 2 will connect to Web 3 here, perhaps as a starting point where you show your sequence of birth certificates and say that, okay, this person is Alice's child, this person, and so on. You show that, and you digitize that in some manner, and that can be a starting point. And that might enable projects to be built in our world where there are identity projects, of course, and that can be a motivation for these digital identity projects to add this feature where you also prove that who your ancestors are. I was just talking to a team, and it seemed like people were building like these parts of the puzzle without knowing what can be enabled using these parts of the puzzle. I think it was Provably and zkTLS, and zkTLS is part of the world where Web 2 comes to Web 3, and this data that can be proven, you can have proofs of SQL query responses using Provably, and so it seemed like a similar thing might happen here, right? Yeah.
Thanks.
I think just pass it to your right.
So maybe, but what he said, and I think that like all of your examples, they assume some kind of cryptographic society where we know what is the, I mean, court has public-private key, and also there is a way for this to evolve. So in the future, you know that this public key is of a court because it evolved from some kind of definition. So from what I thought, it's all kind of assuming cryptographic society, right?
I'm not sure if I completely understood your question, but if I am to repeat it back to you, you're saying the evolution of encryption as a methodology, and what about cryptographic society, you said? Sorry.
So, I mean, you in all the examples, you assume that not only that all the institutes have public-private key, right? That's one assumption, which I think does not exist. That's one thing that I would call the cryptographic society. And also somehow you assume that, I mean, you know, something can be open with a court order, you assume that it will also happen in the future, right? So it might be a new court that we don't know yet, which will have a public-private key, and somehow the proof would be able to know that this belongs to a court. So, but maybe the question is too general and not relevant. Sorry.
No,
I think if you're thinking along the same lines that I'm thinking, maybe what you're saying, it's not totally clear to me in this example of, say, the granddaughter, that it would say you do have super efficient general witness encryption for any NP. It's not clear that it would be easier to move the billion to the granddaughter safely than with witness encryption than with a digital signature or ZK snark. Because this problem of how to make sure that only the granddaughter has this secret, like, it seems maybe hard. I think that's maybe what you were saying. Yeah, but I should give the mic to.
And I think we have a question at the front here. Okay. I think, okay, lots of questions. Exciting.
Is it my turn? Is it me? Okay, cool. This is a relatively new idea and actually very exciting, I think, for many people in the room to hear about witness encryption. Would it be possible to do something like, create a math prize, right? Mm-hmm. Where, it's like some sort of smart contract or something, right? Which has, a wallet, crypto wallet, and someone would have to submit a proof for like a mathematical conjecture for which there's no proof today, right? But like witness encryption would be able to like process that proof and say, or we're unlocking, like the person who knows that proof, unlocks the money.
actually, that's a very cool application. Reminds me of that, isn't there this set of math problems? Right, where somebody who solves these problems will get the jackpot, right? And I think your example, the way you're thinking will help create a system that is resilient to chances like the person who's holding on to this treasury, or the committee that has the power to deploy these funds, right? There are no bad actors there, that they are trying to understand, trying to steal something and take the money. So there is no middle intermediaries.
Well, what's cool about this would be like, with like committees and stuff, you mentioned like corruption, right? If you had a prize that was open for like hundreds of years, right? Like this is a prize you could leave up essentially like forever, right?
I didn't understand the comment. What about?
I was saying, like you mentioned, there's millennium prizes in math, right? If those aren't solved for like hundreds or thousands of years, right? Like all those committee people will be dead by then, right? But with like witness encryption, like that prize will be there forever, right?
Yeah, and also no operational cost for people to keep a tab and secure that money.
Okay, next question from Damien.
Hi, awesome talk. I'm here, by the way. Yeah, so it feels to me there are two kinds of applications of witness encryption. One category is the one where we don't really assume the encryptor, the person who encrypts, is honest, and the other category is about that we actually need a proof of encryption. So the example you mentioned is that, well, you want to leave something to your grandkids. So then, well, this is a gift from you, so we don't really need to check that the encryption is correct.
Right.
But there are these kind of applications like encryption to the future, where you encrypt something and the encryption will be, the ciphertext will be decryptable after some block on Ethereum has happened. You can do that because you can write it as an NP statement.
Right.
So here you actually need to prove that the encryption is correct, that the encryption is legit.
Right.
So I don't know what's the state of the art, but is this problem of verifiable encryption verifiable witness encryption strictly hard, or is it something that people have thought about? Or because I think the standard thing is that you don't really, I mean, that we assume that the party encrypting is actually honest, and we don't care about that.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I actually don't know of any work. I think, what if you slap on ZK onto it? And I think the question is, can you do better? Right.
I think the next question, I think that will be probably last question. Any more questions? Last question at the front here.
Yeah, so my question is a bit related to the previous one. Is there any similarity between this type of schemes and like time lock encryption?
That is time lock encryption. I think it's a specific, it seems like it's a specific instantiation of witness encryption, right? Where the witness is that time has passed, seems like. But I don't know if that probably can be built in ways where you don't need the generality of witness encryption. That can come to the second part where you're building something specific, and that seems to have a lot of usability. Mm-hmm.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. I think that's the highest number of questions we've had today. So well done, Vanishree. And everyone, please give a big round of applause. So now we have a 15-minute networking break, but please make sure to rush back for the last talk of the day from Orest, one of the ZK Warsaw founders. Thank you so much, and please rush back.